Hello, and thank you for allowing me to join this session remotely, for inviting me to contribute to this fantastic conference. I do apologise I can't be there in person with our efforts to reduce emissions. Chances to fly are more limited than they used to be, but I'm glad to do it in another way. And my name is Baldwin Cantello, and I'm the Director for Nature-Based Solutions at WWF UK. And in this video contribution, I'm trying to cover three things. The first is some context about nature-based solutions and finance, the role of the carbon market, and thirdly, lessons from our MBS accelerator. So first, let's just take a step back. And I think it's always really important to be clear on what we're talking about when we say nature-based solutions. And the way I define them is that it's about a shift in the way that a natural ecosystem is protected or managed or restored in order to address a societal challenge. And that societal challenge could indeed be climate change, but it could also be human health, it could be resilience to flooding, it could be food security, or more than one of these. And so by definition, then, nature-based solutions have got a tremendous potential to deliver against our three global agreements. That's the Paris Agreement on climate change, the Global Biodiversity Framework, and the Sustainable Development Goals. And that's measurable, particularly for climate change, where we know that nature-based solutions can deliver around a third of the mitigation we need to keep within a safe climate. To reach this potential, one of the key factors will be the flow of finance. And the UN Environment Programme estimates that an investment need of $384 billion per year by 2025. That's doubling the figure from 2022. Private finance is a minority of that flow at the moment, around 1/6. But we know it's the share that's got to grow the most because of the limits there are on public funding. Currently, most private finance for nature-based solution is linked to two channels. The first is the voluntary carbon market, and the second being sustainable commodities. And so this brings me to the second part of what I wanted to talk about in the carbon market. And there's no doubt that the carbon markets have a very big role to play in delivering nature-based solutions, but they are not working effectively, consistently. And let me be clear that there are good operators in this market. There are project developers and deliverers who are delivering real emission reductions and removals, and there are good buyers who are using credits as part of a robust net zero and nature positive strategy. But there are also many other examples where emission reductions or removals are over-reported, people's rights and access to resources are not respected, or where carbon credits are used to underpin misleading claims by businesses. So these facts are well known and well reported. That'll be nothing new to you. And indeed, there are several voluntary sector initiatives aiming at responding to these weak points in the market. And I'm sure there will be a role for policy to set firm rules of the game as well. But I'd like to speak to an alternative approach, one that we at WWF and others call the contribution model. Whereas the traditional approach to the carbon market is for a company to purchase credits to uphold a claim related to their own emissions, contribution model flips that around and focuses on an impact claim. So how can a business be part of an overall transition of our economy and society? Specifically, WWF advocates for businesses to take 5 steps. First, of course, is to transparently account and disclose their greenhouse gas emissions, scopes 1 to 3. Second is to deliver emission reductions across scopes 1 to 3 in line with science-based targets for limiting warming to 1.5 degrees. Thirdly, then, is to set a financial commitment to support further climate action, and we recommend this be based on a credible value for the social cost of carbon, multiplied by that company's remaining emissions. Those funds could then be used to support a number of different actions. I'll mention 3 here. The first would be to invest in further emission reductions or removals in that business or supply chain, so going beyond their targets. If we link that to nature-based solutions here, this could involve MBS insetting as an approach, where MBS is integrated into supply chains in such a way that it can yield reductions or removals within scopes 1 to 3. At its very simplest, this might be restoration of trees or forests in supplying farm areas. Second approach would be to invest in landscape or seascape interventions, investments that focus on landscape needs, not on maximizing credits, thereby creating inclusive, sustainable, and prosperous landscapes or seascapes. Another investment opportunity is indeed the purchase of high quality credits, but the shift in this overall contribution model is to use these credits to underpin, not to use these credits to underpin a claim of carbon neutrality, for example, but rather a beyond value chain approach that focuses on impact in the wider world. And the fifth step we advocate to businesses is that indeed they add their voice to the call for more ambitious climate policies from government actors. So with that, it's time to move to the third part of my contribution to your conference. In WWF, we've been running a nature-based solutions accelerator for the last 3 years in partnership with HSBC and the World Resources Institute. And the goal of this accelerator is to unlock the barriers to private finance flowing to nature-based solutions for the reasons I outlined earlier. And we've been working on both market solutions, things like data tools and guidance, while also supporting specific projects to reach investment readiness. We still have a year to run and to get projects over the line to investment readiness. But from our outreach to the market and a recent call for proposals, we've got 4 key lessons to share here, which I think will be useful for your conversation. The first is the importance of clear definitions and criteria, both for what is nature-based solutions as well as investment readiness. The NBS concept is not always widely understood and is often confused with related terms like natural climate solutions, which is a subset. Clear and robust use of well-established definitions can instill confidence in investors, including, for example, as we have the use of the IUCN Global Standard for Nature-Based Solutions. The second lesson is that NBS project developers and implementers are hugely diverse. Proposals to the NBS Accelerator came from a wide range of geographies, ecosystems, business models, organization types, and NBS activities. And while we only had a small sample size, this challenges that traditional dominance of NGO-led and forest-focused projects. Thirdly, NBS project teams need to build confidence in commercial project design, and clear criteria for investment readiness can help with that. We found only a small pool of projects with capabilities to design a commercial project. And so commercial expertise and mentoring are imperative to bridge this gap, with early stage funding requiring flexibility to allow projects to prove their commercial viability. Lastly, policy change is critical to unlock revenue options for nature-based solution projects. Currently, NBS project streams, as I've mentioned, come mainly from supply chains or agricultural product sales and the voluntary carbon market. But investors prefer to see a range of revenue sources to reduce risk. But to enable that, we need policy-based mechanisms that, for example, create payments for ecosystem services or insurance-based schemes for disaster risk reduction. So just before I close, I just want to link this to where you are. And I know you're in Sabah, and I was pleased to visit Sabah last year and spend some time with my colleagues from WWF Malaysia and their partners. And it seems clear to me that there is a great potential for Sabah to apply many of the approaches I've spoken about to benefit people and wildlife in Sabah and in turn the global community. The potential for a living landscape that integrates sustainable production of timber and palm oil alongside the restoration of habitats and the protection of existing forest areas is clear. And these components marry well with the opportunity that I've spoken about, combining sustainable supply chain incentives with NBS investments in the context of a sustainable landscape. So I'll leave you with that thought and wish you a very productive conversation, and I look forward to hearing the outcome.